In 1987, an entire American town vanished overnight. No news, no bodies, no survivors. But last week, someone mailed us a VHS tape from that town, and what we saw changed everything. This footage is real. What you're about to hear was never meant to be found. Have you ever wondered what happens when a simple rule turns into a nightmare? What if the people meant to protect your community turned against you? This is the true story of how an American family nearly lost everything over a flower bed. Yes, a flower bed. In 2020, David and Lisa Thompson moved into what they thought was their dream home. A quiet cul-de-sac in a pristine suburban neighborhood in Arizona. Clean sidewalks, perfect lawns, smiling neighbors, and of course an HOA. At first, they loved it. The rules seemed fair. No junk cars in the yard, mow your lawn, no loud parties past 10 p.m. David thought, good, keeps the neighborhood in order. They had no idea what was coming. 3 months in, they received their first HOA notice. A letter on official-looking paper. Violation, unauthorized landscaping alteration. Fine, $75. Their crime? Planting lavender bushes by their mailbox. David called the HOA office thinking it was a mistake. I didn't remove anything, he explained. Just added flowers, nothing invasive. The reply? Cold and robotic. Section 3.4 prohibits any landscaping without prior written approval. Fine stands. Pay within 10 days, or additional penalties apply. Lisa posted about the incident on the neighborhood Facebook group. Didn't think planting lavender would cause drama. That night, a new notice appeared on their door. Public disparagement of HOA board members is a violation of community standards. Further action may be taken. They were stunned, and things got worse. Over the next month, they received 6 more notices. Their trash bins were visible for more than 12 hours. The mailbox paint was fading. A garden gnome was considered unsightly decor. Holiday lights left up 2 days past New Year's. Every infraction came with a fee. $50, $100, $150. Within 90 days, they owed over $1,100 in fines. David and Lisa decided to attend the next HOA board meeting. The room was tense. 5 board members, blank expressions, and a handful of residents quietly watching. David stood up and politely asked, "Can we appeal these fines? These seem excessive." The board president didn't blink. "Rules are rules, Mr. Thompson. You agreed to them when you bought the home." Lisa asked why they were being targeted when other houses had the same things. The answer? We enforce as we see fit. If you have complaints, submit them in writing. Then came the final blow. One morning, they received a certified letter. Due to unpaid fines totaling $1,750, the HOA has filed a lien against your property. Failure to resolve this matter may result in foreclosure proceedings. They were shocked. This wasn't just about flowers or gnomes anymore. This was about their home, their sanctuary. They hired a lawyer for a $1,000 retainer. Weeks of back and forth. Eventually, the lawyer uncovered that one board member lived across from them and had personally submitted every violation. It was personal. Apparently, that board member hated Lisa's post on Facebook and made it his mission to make an example out of them. Under pressure, the HOA agreed to settle. They removed the lien, dropped the fines, and the board member resigned for personal reasons. But the damage was done. The Thompsons eventually sold their home, just to escape the toxicity. "We moved into a house to build a life," Lisa later said, but the HOA almost destroyed it. This story isn't unique. Across America, HOAs are supposed to protect communities. But sometimes, they turn into bullies with unchecked power. If you're moving into an HOA neighborhood, read the rules. Know your rights. And never assume that just because it's quiet, it's safe. Because in some HOAs, the horror is hiding just behind the hedge. They say the town of Coldwater Hollow vanished in 1987 without a trace. But the truth is it never disappeared. It was swallowed, buried alive beneath the earth like a secret too evil to be remembered. And now, almost 40 years later, a true crime documentary crew from New York, ambitious, skeptical, hungry for clicks, decided to dig into the legend after receiving a package with no return address containing an old VHS tape that showed a boy screaming in front of a collapsing church, smoke curling behind him and dozens of shadowed figures just standing still in the background, unmoving, watching. That crew, Lexi, director, her boyfriend Jared, sound tech, cynical cameraman Nate, and horror-obsessed intern Melissa, headed out to the coordinates etched into the tape's side in smudged marker, deep in the Appalachians, past the paved roads, where GPS stops working and even the birds fall silent, eventually finding the remnants of Coldwater Hollow hidden by thick trees and fog that clings to your skin like wet breath, with houses half swallowed by the earth and a church bell that rings even when untouched. The first night, their drone picked up something moving between the trees, too fast, too tall, with limbs that didn't move right, and Nate joked about hillbilly cults, but when they played back the footage, they all fell silent. The figure wasn't human, it was watching them from just beyond the edge of the clearing, smiling with no lips, and its eyes were black holes that seemed to leak smoke. Still, they stayed, setting up base inside the rotting church, where strange carvings lined the pews and the air stank like old blood, and that night they heard whispering under the floorboards, voices speaking in an ancient tongue none of them recognized, but Melissa, who was raised religious, said it sounded like corrupted Latin, and began praying, only for her voice to warp, slow down, and echo unnaturally as the camera batteries all drained at once. The next day, Lexi disappeared while filming B-roll near the cemetery. 1 second on camera, the next replaced by static and the sound of bones cracking, and they searched for hours until Nate found her shoe hanging from a tree 50 feet up, with her name carved into the trunk backwards, bleeding sap like fresh blood, and when they tried to leave, the road was gone, swallowed by mist, the forest now circling them like a noose. Then came the dreams. The exact same dream for each of them. A woman in a wedding dress with no face, arms outstretched, mouth moving silently, as dozens of children hung upside down behind her from meat hooks in the church rafters, twitching. Melissa lost it first, gouging her own ears with a pen, saying, "The whispers get louder when you listen." And before they could stop her, she stabbed herself with a rusted crucifix, whispering, "She's under us." As her eyes turned black, they buried her. But in the morning her grave was dug up, empty, only a trail of footprints leading to the hollow tree at the edge of town, the one that seemed to move every night, the one that now bled when cut. Then Jared began coughing up teeth, waking up with bruises in the shape of children's hands, and Nate caught him on camera sleepwalking into the woods and whispering to something in the dark, saying soon, in a voice not his own, and the footage glitched, showing another face superimposed over his, a woman's face, burned, skin peeling, smiling wide. And that night, the bell tolled 13 times at midnight, and Jared was found hung upside down in the rafters just like in their dreams, mouth stuffed with old hymn pages. Nate wanted to burn the place and run, but the moment he stepped outside the church, the trees closed in like gates slamming shut, and he screamed as hundreds of faceless children emerged from the mist, dragging chains, chanting backwards prayers until his body collapsed like an empty skin. Now Lexi, who somehow returned, changed, her skin paler, voice hollow, is the only one left, filming herself inside the basement she swore didn't exist, walls covered in claw marks, and behind her, chained to the stone, is the thing that calls itself Mother Adela. The same woman who led the children's revival cult that supposedly burned in 1887, yet still breathes with a face sewn from screaming mouths, whispering promises of eternal life in exchange for sacrifice. Lexi says the tape must be shared, that the town needs fresh blood, and her smile is wide, mechanical, not her own, as she turns the camera to the altar. Dozens of children's shoes, fresh ones, modern brands, covered in blood, and says, "We're not lost, we're chosen," just as the tape cuts to black, and the viewer, yes, you, is left watching your own reflection in the dark screen. Only it's smiling back, and behind you, faintly, you hear the bell tolling, and the whisper, "Welcome to Coldwater Hollow."